Have you ever been sitting for a while, and when you finally stand up, your legs feel heavy? Maybe your ankles feel stiff. Maybe your feet don't feel as comfortable as they used to. Or maybe after sitting through a long television program, reading, driving, or working at a desk, you notice that your lower legs simply feel different. A lot of people over 60 automatically think that's just aging. But there's something important you should know. Sometimes the issue isn't that you need a harder workout. It may simply be that your lower legs need more opportunities to move throughout the day. And there's one very simple movement you can do while you're already sitting. No gym. No special equipment. And you don't even have to stand up. It's called the seated ankle pump. You simply pull your toes toward you, then point them away, and repeat. But here's the interesting part. The reason this movement matters isn't really your foot. It's what that movement can do to the muscles and veins in your lower leg. And once you understand that mechanism, a simple ankle movement starts to make a lot more sense. So in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how to do it, why it makes physiological sense, how to turn it into a daily movement habit, and perhaps most importantly, which leg symptoms should not simply be blamed on getting older. Let's start with the part most people never think about. When people hear the word circulation, they usually think about the heart. And that's understandable. Your heart pumps blood through your arteries and sends oxygen and nutrients throughout your body. But eventually, blood that has traveled down toward your feet has another job to do. It has to get back up. And your legs are below your heart. That means your body needs more than just the heart's pumping action to help return blood through the veins. This is where something surprisingly important comes into the picture. Your lower leg muscles. Think about what happens when you walk. Your ankle moves. Your calf contracts. Then it relaxes. You take another step. The process repeats. And those repeated contractions can help compress veins in the lower leg, supporting the movement of venous blood upward. This mechanism is commonly called the calf muscle pump. It's one of those systems your body operates so quietly that you probably never think about it. Until you stop moving. And that's where today's simple exercise becomes interesting. Before we go any further, let's actually do the movement. Because I don't want you waiting 10 minutes just to learn what the title promised. Sit comfortably in a stable chair. Place both feet on the floor or slightly forward if that's more comfortable. Now gently pull the front of your feet and toes upward toward you. Pause for a moment. Then point your feet away from you and back. Up and down. Back and away. That's the movement. A seated ankle pump. Keep it controlled. You don't need to kick. You don't need to force your ankle into a large range of motion. And you don't need to turn it into an exhausting workout. The goal is simply repeated movement of the ankle and lower leg. Now you might be thinking, that seems almost too easy. And that's exactly why it is interesting. Because the goal here isn't to make one movement incredibly difficult. The goal is to make movement so easy that you can actually repeat it. And there's a physiological reason that repeated lower leg movement can matter. Let's look at what's happening underneath the skin. Imagine your lower leg as a series of connected pathways. Blood travels down through the arteries, and blood returns through the veins. Inside your veins are valves that help keep blood moving in the proper direction. But muscles around those veins can also help. When the muscles contract, they can compress nearby veins. That helps push blood upward. Then the muscles relax. And the cycle can happen again with the next contraction. That's the basic idea behind the calf muscle pump. It's one reason movement of your lower legs is so important. And here's the key distinction. Your calf is not literally a second heart. That's a catchy phrase you may hear online, but it can be misleading. Your heart is still the primary pump moving blood through your body. A better way to think about your calf muscles is this: your heart provides the main force, while your lower leg muscles help support venous return. And now the ankle pump makes more sense. You're not trying to pump blood through your entire body with your feet. You're simply creating repeated movement that activates muscles involved in this natural mechanism. Studies using Doppler ultrasound have found that different ankle and toe exercises can significantly increase blood flow velocity in the popliteal vein in seated adults. That supports the physiological logic of ankle movement, although it does not mean the exercise treats every circulation disorder. And this brings us to a bigger issue. It isn't only about whether you exercise. It may also be about how often your legs move. Let's say you take a 30-minute walk every morning. That's good. But now imagine the rest of the day. You walk in the mornings. Then you sit down for breakfast. Later you sit at a computer. Then you sit in the car. You sit while reading. You sit while watching television. And perhaps you go to bed, having spent most of the day seated. So here's a different question. Not did I exercise today, but how often did my legs actually move today? Those are not necessarily the same thing. And for some older adults, everyday movement naturally becomes less frequent. Stairs become less common. Walking becomes shorter. Long sitting becomes easier. And once you start thinking about movement this way, the seated ankle pump becomes less like an exercise and more like a small movement opportunity. That's important, because an exercise you can only do when you're highly motivated may happen once. A movement you can perform while watching television. You may actually repeat it. And consistency is where simple habits become useful. Here's how I want you to think about the ankle pump. Not as a miracle. Not as a cure. Not as something you need to obsess over. Think of it as a movement reminder. You're sitting for a while. You notice your legs haven't moved much. So you gently move your ankles, up, down, back, away. That's it. You could associate it with something you already do. Watching television, reading, talking on the phone, sitting at your desk. A long car ride when appropriate and safe. The important part is not creating a magical number of repetitions. There isn't a magic number where your circulation suddenly becomes fixed. The goal is to create more opportunities for lower leg movement. And this is one reason simple exercises can be valuable for older adults. They don't require a gym. They don't require changing clothes. They don't require 30 free minutes. And for many people, they can fit into an existing routine. But there's another reason I like this movement. It changes how you think about exercise after 60. You don't always need to ask, how can I work harder? Sometimes the better question is, how can I move more often? Now there's an important point I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm not saying forget walking. Walking is still one of the most useful ways to stay physically active. The point is different. Walking and seated ankle pumps serve different purposes. A walk gets your whole body moving. Your ankles move. Your calves work. Your legs support your body. Your heart rate can rise. You are training much more than just one small movement. The seated ankle pump is different. It's an option for those moments when you're already sitting. That's why I wouldn't compare the two as if one has to replace the other. Think of them as two different tools. Walking when you can. Small movements when you've been sitting. Standing and moving around when appropriate. And the bigger principle is simple. Don't let exercise become the only time your body is allowed to move. Your body is designed for movement throughout the day. And after 60, small movement opportunities can become especially valuable because they're often easier to repeat. There's one mistake I want you to avoid. trying to make the ankle pump aggressive. More force isn't automatically better. You don't need to violently point your toes. You don't need to jerk your ankles. You don't need to keep going through pain. The movement should be controlled and comfortable. Think gentle, rhythmic, repeatable. And pay attention to how your body responds. If a movement causes pain, dizziness, or something unusual, stop rather than trying to push through it. The point of this exercise is to introduce movement, not to win a workout competition. And that distinction matters, especially when you're older. The best movement habit isn't necessarily the one that looks impressive. It's the one you're able to perform consistently and comfortably. Now we need to draw an important line. The phrase poor circulation is often used online as if it were one single condition. It isn't. Leg symptoms can have different causes. Some problems involve veins. Others involve arteries. Some involve nerves. Swelling can have many possible causes. Medications, injuries, inactivity, and underlying medical conditions can also influence how your legs feel. So a seated ankle pump should never be presented as a universal treatment. It does not diagnose the reason your legs feel cold. It does not tell you why you're experiencing numbness. It does not clear a blocked artery. It does not treat a blood clot. And it does not replace treatment prescribed by your healthcare professional. The value of this movement is much simpler. It gives your lower legs another opportunity to move. And that is useful information, but it is not a diagnosis. Now here's where this video becomes especially important. Because there are certain symptoms, you shouldn't simply try to exercise away. Getting older changes the body. But getting older shouldn't become an explanation for every new symptom. Pay attention to patterns. For example, if you have persistent numbness or tingling in your feet, repeated or significant leg pain that consistently appears when you walk and improves when you rest, or wounds on your feet or legs that aren't healing normally, those are reasons to talk with a healthcare professional. And there's another situation that deserves particular attention. If one leg suddenly becomes significantly swollen, especially when that swelling is accompanied by pain or other concerning symptoms, don't assume it's simply because you sat too long. Don't try to solve a potentially serious problem with an exercise from the internet. Seek appropriate medical care. The goal here isn't to make you afraid of every unusual sensation. It's the opposite. It's to give you a better framework. There is a difference between, I sat for 2 hours and my legs feel stiff, and this symptom keeps happening, is getting worse, or appeared suddenly. That distinction matters. Simple movement is one thing. Persistent or concerning symptoms are another. So let's bring everything together. You don't need to remember a complicated anatomy lesson. Remember the picture. Your heart pumps blood. Your veins return blood toward the heart. And your lower leg muscles can help support that return through the calf muscle pump. That means movement matters. But movement doesn't always have to mean a hard workout. It can be a walk. It can be standing up. It can be moving around your home. And when you're already sitting, it can be something as simple as moving your ankles. That's why the seated ankle pump is worth understanding. Not because it's magical, but because it's simple. And simple movements have one major advantage: you can actually repeat them. After 60, healthy movement doesn't have to mean becoming an athlete. It can mean making small changes that fit the life you already have. So the next time you're sitting for a long period, remember, up, down, up, down. Give your lower legs another opportunity to move. And then when you can, stand up and walk around. Because the real goal isn't one perfect exercise. The real goal is a body that gets more chances to move throughout the day. And now I'd like to hear from you. When you sit for a long time, what do you notice most? Heavy legs, stiff ankles, cold feet, or simply tired legs? Leave your answer in the comments, because those everyday experiences tell us which healthy aging topics are most useful to cover next. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe to Human Restore for more evidence-informed, practical information designed to help you move better and age with confidence. Remember, you don't always need to exercise harder. Sometimes you simply need to move more often.